Welcome back. We've got Chef Anthony in studio this morning, and we have just trussed a roast.
Yes, and if you notice, our roast here is kind of uniform. When we started out, it was kind of at a slant and at a almost a 45-degree angle, so it made it a little bit hard, but now it's kind of uniform in the way that it's done. So we're ready to go ahead and start seasoning this roast and getting it ready to go into the oven.
Okay.
But some of the things that I've seen people do in the past and some of the things that I've done is taking garlic cloves, and you split the garlic cloves in half, put a little slit into the muscle in each little section, and just slide the piece of garlic clove right inside there. Then all the essence of the garlic just kind of seeps out into the beef while it's roasting. This was done a lot for hams back in the day, just so that they could mark them when they were smoking. And it helps so that they can cut them and everything else. It was beautiful. You can
when the finished product is done, you're going to have like basically pre-cuts into it.
You're going to have marks so that you can portion it out. And see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 portions right here for somebody, so I can sit down for a dinner party of 6 and know that once I take the string off, I can just cut right on the lines and serve everybody. You want that piece? So we would season this up, put it on a lightly oiled pan. You can put a cover of foil over the side of it. For something like this, I would add a really nice red wine to it, and then...
How do you go about adding that?
Just pour it right in the bottom of the pan.
Not on it? Just
well,
in the pan itself?
In the pan itself, because as it cooks, it's going to create a convection inside, and it's just going to simmer and then steam, and it's going to drop right on top of your roast.
Right.
So it's a nice wet cooking style method. And then right at the end, for about the last 10 minutes, I would take it out, take the foil off of it, put it on a rack, and let it just kind of crust the outside really nicely.
If you were to cook vegetables in with it or anything, are there ones to avoid or that would be good?
Well, if you're going to do vegetables inside of it, then don't add the red wine. Add your seasonings, put your vegetables right around it, but you're going to need to make sure that your vegetables will cook in the same amount of time as this. So whole potatoes, large hunks of carrots, onions you can put in there, but you stand a chance of over caramelizing or charring your onions a little too much. But you just kind of have to play with it a little bit. I very rarely cook vegetables in it. I will cook my vegetables separate and then use the sauce or the wine that I used inside of here, and with all the drippings, and turn it into a sauce.
There you go.
So put it in a pan, reduce it a little bit, and add a roux to it, and away we go for a nice, beautiful sauce that corresponds with the roast and is good for everything else. So put this on a pan, lightly oiled, little foil over the top of it, and 350 degrees in the oven till the internal temperature in the middle is 350 degrees.
And how big would you say this size of roast is?
I believe this is about a 2-pound roast.
2-pound roast. So how long do you think that would take?
A couple hours.
A couple hours. Okay.
So,
obviously, it's going to take longer if it's a little bit bigger.
Yes, it would. This is a great trick to do in the sous vide, because you can put everything inside of here with it and then seal up the bag and let it sit in there, and then from edge to edge, you just finish it off in a skillet. You can actually take this and roll this with the string still on in a skillet to caramelize the outside. If you really, really are that person like me who likes mid-rare to edge, you don't have to worry about just a little bit of pink in the middle. Or if you wanted it all the way done, you could do the same thing, but this will help hold your roast together.
A lot of people are using Instapots now.
Yes.
Would this be a good technique to do?
This would be a great technique to do inside your Instapot, because the Instapot controls the cooking on side of there. But this technique, using this trussing style, will just help hold your roast together, because I know some people really like the fact that their roast falls apart when they go. My mom, that's the way she made it. That's the way my grandmother made it. But once I've done this, I found I really like this, because it turns out more like a steak than just a traditional roast.
And so if you're using it in the Instapot, would you want to place it down at the bottom of the pot or place it on a rack?
I would put it on a rack inside the Instapot so that you still get a little bit of that circulation.
Okay.
So you get a nice crust on the outside. But do be careful, because the same thing goes. You only want to cook the middle to about 130 degrees. When you take it out, the carryover, which is the amount it's still going to cook from the heat it was exposed to, is going to rise it anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees. So you really don't want to overcook it.
Give it a nice angle. Yeah.
It's a beautiful little roast. I can't wait to cook this one later in class for my students.
I'm jealous.
Don't worry, next week we're going to use this same technique, and we're going to do a pork roulade. And that's kind of a lost thing now, but it's so much fun to do, and especially with the kids. If you have younger kids at home, once you cut it, they can design what they want to put inside of it.
Okay, if you want to watch these segments, log on to our website later this morning, kymnewsnow.com. Click on the morning show link and you can find all of Chef Anthony's things. Just search for Chef Anthony. And I'm looking forward to the pork roast that we're making next week.
Oh yes, I'm excited for that one. It's one of my favorites. It's a nice alternative to Thanksgiving. It still holds true to the fall flavors, because when you think fall, what do you think?
Apples and
Exactly. Apples
cider
and cider and all that stuff. And all that stuff goes wonderful with pork.
Yes.
It falls right inside the line of everything that goes with pork. Because when you serve pork, usually you get a pork chop at a restaurant. What's the side that's with it almost every single time?
Applesauce.
Applesauce.
There you go.
So you can do wonderful things with a pork, but this technique, learning how to tie this, is the first step. You can't do any of those other things until you've learned to tie it.
All right, and that's what we did this morning. We've trussed a roast. All right, we will be right back.